G'day everyone, Tim from Bozzy Garage, and today we're going to compare the MG4 with the BYD Atto 3. So back in 2022 when we bought the MG4, we just needed a small hatchback, ideally electric of course, to replace my wife's Hyundai i30. There wasn't really much competition in the market at the time for a small electric hatchback. It was going to be the MG4, which you see here. There was the BYD Dolphin, didn't like that very much, and the Aura Cat, which was, not a great package. So we ended up buying the 2022 MG4 Excite 51, which is the bottom of the line, the cheapest one they sold. It was about $39 drive away in Victoria at the time with the $3,000 state government allowance. The BYD at the time is a 2023 BYD Atto 3, that was more about 51 drive away. So the price difference at the time of buying the MG4 was about $12,000. Nowadays though, the prices have changed quite a bit. The MG4 now, the base model Excite 51 in Victoria, is about 41,000 drive away. And the BYD Atto 3 over there, that's about 47,000 drive away. So the gap is actually a lot narrower now than what it used to be. With that in mind, we're going to compare the base model MG4 Excite 51 against the BYD Atto 3, and we're going to see how they compare in things like style, size, driving, and the rest of it. So this is the base model standard range BYD Atto 3. Lovely shade of green. This is actually my brother-in-law's car that I've borrowed for a couple of weeks while he's gone, and I've been driving it around. It's a decent car actually. I hadn't had much experience with the BYD Atto 3 in the past, and there's Tina's MG4. Now size-wise, if you look, I'm going to try and show you the roofline. The BYD is maybe about that much taller than the MG4. I'll put the exact figures up on the screen for you. I'm going to walk around to the side now. I've tried to line them up as closely as I could at the front. But when we walk towards the back, we can see that the length of the two cars is actually pretty similar. I would say that the BYD is maybe 4 inches, 10 centimeters longer than the MG4, but not by a great deal. Anyway, when we look at the exterior styling, obviously one is a smallish hatchback, one is a smallish SUV, I guess you can call it. The window line, or where the glass begins and ends, is a bit higher on the BYD. You sit a bit lower in the MG4, of course, being a small hatchback. How about styling? I really still like how the MG4 looks, very aggressive, very sharp headlights. But the BYD Atto 3, the nice feature which isn't on display at the moment is the continuous light bar that goes along through there. It matches the continuous rear light bar that goes on at night as well. Walking down through the sides of both cars, another difference here, I've got 18-inch wheels on the BYD Atto 3. These came with the Batman tyres, which weren't very highly rated, and I don't rate them very highly either, but they do the job. 18-inch wheels, alloy wheels, no aero cover. The MG4, 17-inch wheels in the base model here, with some decent rubber actually, Continental, but with aero covers as well. They can be removed, but the wheels underneath them, they don't look particularly good, I think, anyway. Another difference you can see here, folding mirrors on the BYD, no folding mirrors. On the base model MG4 anyway, the Essence model does have folding mirrors. When we squat down a bit, again you can see the difference in the window line here. BYD is there and the MG4 is down there a little bit as well. Conventional door handles on both, unlike that Tesla at the back. People still can't figure out how to get into it half the time. Let's walk towards the back of the car here. So that's the continuous rear red LED daylight running lamp. I don't know what you want to call it, but at night it's all red across there. It looks really cool, quite like it. The MG4 in the base model, only lights on either side, nothing in the middle until you step up to the Essence grade, which is a little bit more as well. I've added in the twin spoiler. You can see that in another video which I uploaded recently. We've got rear wipers on both. The Atto 3 does have a kind of a rear wing, quite subtle. Very nice. And this is what I really like. The roof rails here, these are flush rails, but you can add roof racks in there pretty easily. Now, here we go. This is the part I probably love the most about the BYD. It's got an amazing panoramic roof that stretches really far from front to back. It's got a motorized blind that covers it up as well. And it actually lifts up and folds back, which is something that Tesla does not do. It's got a fixed glass roof, which is great, but BYD, much better. Love it. Interior of the MG4, I'm not going to spend too much time in here. I've done it in plenty of my other videos. Have a look at them through my channel if you want to know more about the MG4. Base model Excite 51, fabric seats, 10.25 inch display there, and a 7-inch one for the driver. Fairly standard. Nice, very simple. Clean and minimal design. Love it. Alright, and this is the BYD Atto 3. There is a lot going on in here. Initially, when I first had a look at the Atto 3 in brochures on the internet, I thought, oh my god, what is going on? Why have they put apparently a dashboard inspired by muscle in the car? And I don't know, flippers or something, and, you know, guitar strings on the door? Well, it's all marine inspired, hence the name. You know, they've got the seal, the dolphin, etc. Anyway, let's sit down here. Now that I've actually been driving in here a week, I've actually come to appreciate the interior of the Atto 3 a lot more. It's interesting. There's a lot of curves, there's a lot of texture. I counted, I think, at least half a dozen different colors from there to there. Everything seems to work pretty well. Some things work better than others. Again, I'm not keen on that kind of thing to look at, but when you're driving, after a while, you kind of ignore it. The air vents, they feel a bit toy-like, and they look a bit toy-like, and they make clicky sounds like a 3-year-old's plaything. The steering wheel, it's fine. Again, it kind of reminds me of a kid's play toy a little bit. At night, though, there's a lot of lights and flashing, and that's kind of cool. The screen, much bigger than on the MG4. I think it's at least a 10-ish inch. I don't know. I'm going to put the details up in here somewhere. But really big, really bright, and it's got wireless Android Auto and wireless CarPlay now through an over-the-air update, which only happened a few weeks ago, I think. Yeah, really quite a nice screen to look at. Very good interface. Voice controls actually work really quite well on the BYD too. You've got a really big center console with a whole lot of buttons. I feel like these buttons could have been better assigned to more useful features. Like, if you're going to put this many buttons in, you might as well put one in that lets you control the climate control. Because as it is, if you're in Android Auto, you've got to swipe and touch again half a dozen times before you can get to the climate control. Fairly conventional gear shift lever. Anyone driving a petrol car will have no problems adapting to this one here. A couple of cup holders. Now, one thing that you can't appreciate until you actually sit in the BYD Atto 3 is that the front seats are really good. Like, there's quite a lot of bolstering here. It's very supportive. The material is good, high quality. Stitching, perforation, everything there. Actually really well done. And heated seats too. So, well done, BYD. Really nice front seats. Let's try that from the driver's seat. Unlike the MG4, there's actually a start and stop button, which is actually pretty good. There's a couple of times I've left the MG4 on because there is no start stop button. You've actually got to lock the car to turn it off. We hit that, everything turns on pretty quickly. There's a nice screen display. Yeah, nice quick startup, a lot quicker than the MG4. Very quickly, within a couple of seconds, we're into wireless Android Auto. My phone just connects to it automatically, and it's got all the screens that you expect to see. What I said before, there's no real climate control, so if I wanted to turn the fan on or change where it is, I've got to swipe that, I've got to push the home button, I've got to push that thing as well. And finally, we're in the climate control screen. So yeah, I mean, some of these buttons here you're probably never going to touch. Would have been nice to have it here, but anyway, small criticism. Turning around though, have a look up there. We've got the screen closed on the BYD at the moment. If we open that, open sunshade.
The blind is open.
So pretty good voice recognition. I think it's actually better than in my Tesla. And that just shoots open your sunshade like that. And you can see how big the panoramic roof is. Some people don't like sunroofs. I love them. I think this is a massive selling point on this car. Let's see if we can get the sunroof open. Open sunroof. Love it. So it's a really good size. It slides back a fair way. And when you're driving, it does let a lot of light and air in as you'd expect. So brilliant. Love that panoramic sunroof. Wish my Tesla had one. Wish the MG4 had one, but it don't. The BYD Atto 3 does. So factor that in if you like sunroofs. There you go. Decision made. Buy the Atto 3. Now, from the driver's seat, we've got a little driver's display with your speed and all that kind of thing. We've got a lot of buttons going on everywhere. These don't do what you expect. Things like cruise control, things like cruise control, volume, etc. Some of the driver aids in this car are not great. Like, there's a setting to help you keep within the lanes, but it is kind of primitive. You end up sort of, the wheel turns in and straightens up and turns on a long straight corner. In my Tesla, it just sees the road and takes you around it really smoothly. So not great lane keep assist. Cruise control is fine once you figured out how it works. Auto headlights, that's quite nice to have. My MG4 doesn't have that, but they are very sensitive to auto headlights. You go through a shade of a tree and it'll flick the headlights on and then figure out, no, it actually doesn't need to be on. Wireless charging pad, my MG4 doesn't have it. The MG4 upper spec one does. Not a big deal. But yeah, looking at the seats again, really, really good front seats. Very, very supportive, very, very comfortable, really good quality. And from the driver's seat, the more you sit in here, the less you kind of notice things I thought I was annoyed at before. Like, you know, when you're driving, you don't look at the dashboard that much at night. You can't see it at all. But you do look at the main screen a lot, and the main screen is pretty good. It does that whole turning vertical thing, which is actually pretty nice if you do like to use the navigation. Does not work with Android Auto though in that portrait format, only in this standard navigation. Now, if you're going to be carrying people in the back seat does make a bit of a difference. In the back of the MG4, again, there's a lot of black fabric. I've taken the headrest off so I can actually see out the back. There's no panoramic sunroof. There's no light. There's no... Actually, there's not much of anything, really. There is sufficient space back here. Good flat floor there. You can fit 3 people across if you want to. Now, let's have a look in the back of the Atto 3. Well, I'll try to anyway. Brother-in-law has a couple of kids, so they get in the way a little bit, these baby seats. Again, we've got a flat floor. It feels like there's more space in here, maybe because there's a bit more headroom. But the main difference, looking up, again, you can see the difference the panoramic sunroof makes. It's really large. There's a little bar in the middle, but, you know, it's still better than what's in the MG4. This comes standard on the BYD Atto 3, and it is lovely. You can see a tiny little LED light over there in the corner. At least it has lights. The MG4 has no back lights in the back seat. A much more pleasant place to be if you're going to be carrying passengers who aren't kids anyway. So yeah, if you're going to be carrying more than 2 people in the car and you care about their comfort, the BYD Atto 3 is going to be a much better choice for you, I think. And a final look at the car. Let's have a look at the back, the hatch of the MG4. It is not powered, so be prepared to lift it up. And it's actually kind of heavy, especially when you add the little wings on there too. At the moment, we're full of work equipment, whatever. It's a reasonable sized boot for a small hatch, on par with, I guess, any other car of this class and category. Let's have a look at the BYD. I think it's unlocked. Alright, so clearly an electric tailgate, actually quite a nice feature. It might have the whole foot swipey thing, I don't actually know. What's the size of it like? I think it's a little bit bigger than the MG4. Not a huge amount. Certainly taller anyway. One thing I'm not going to film, but I'm going to talk about, is the difference in driving between the two. The MG4 is a rear-wheel drive electric car, and the BYD is a front-wheel drive electric car. What does that mean for most people? Well, really, for most people, it's not going to make a lick of difference. If you're just driving around town, picking up the kids, going to work and being stuck in traffic all day, rear-wheel drive, front-wheel drive, who cares? Doesn't make any difference at all. But if you're a keen driver, I'm going to call myself a keen driver, then you are definitely going to notice the difference in driving habits between the BYD and the MG4. The MG4 is a much better drive than the BYD. The BYD, by comparison, is kind of floaty a little bit. It doesn't track very well, maybe just needs a wheel alignment. Front-wheel drive means if you put your power down, you're going to feel the wheel tugging. It's not going to go where you want it to, and you do have to hang on to it. It's roughly about the same sort of acceleration, I guess, as the MG4. But if you like driving and it makes a difference for you, get the MG4. It is a lot better than the BYD Atto 3. Some people say it's because of the rubbish tyres on it. They're the Batman tyres, and the new Atto 3s come on something different. That said, no tyre can overcome the drivetrain configuration. If it's front-wheel drive, it'll always be front-wheel drive. Again, if you like driving, get the MG4. People are always going to ask, well, which one should I buy? Well, it depends on a variety of things, how much money you got to spend. If you've got 40k to spend and not much more, I think you should get the MG4. It's in that price bracket. It's a really good car. I bought one. If you've got a little bit more to spend, well, there's nothing wrong with the BYD either. It has some really good features about it, which I love. I keep going on about the panoramic roof. It makes a really big difference, I feel, because you get to enjoy it pretty much every time you get in and out of the car. It is slightly bigger. It's definitely got a better back seat accommodation for any rear seat passengers that you might have. Electric tailgate is nice. It's got a really good 360-degree camera, which the base model MG4 does not have. It comes in a really cool green color, or at least it used to. I looked on the website, and apparently the 2024 models, they don't have this green anymore. Anyway, cool colour, that one. Warranty may or may not be an issue. New MGs are currently sold with a 10-year warranty, which is pretty good. I've got a 7-year one, whatever. The BYDs have, I don't know how long they've got. I'm going to look it up and put it up on the screen anyway. So warranty coverage, depending on the number of kilometres you plan to do, may be a bit of a difference. Both the base model Atto 3 and the MG4, they both have LFP batteries, I believe. The mid-range MG4 has NMC. And if you're a battery nerd, well, you could argue about which one's better all day long. I'm not going to argue about it. I don't really care. I'm kind of bored by it anyway. Now, the interesting comparison comes if you've got, say, mid-40s to spend. Because you can get this Atto 3 for about 47 drive away, and I'm pretty sure that the mid-range MG4 SN64, that's probably about mid-40s as well. The choice becomes a lot harder then, because if you're looking at exactly the same price, do you get more in the MG4, do you get more in the Atto 3? And as much as I hate to say it, because I put my own money into an MG4, I think the BYD might be a better buy at the mid-40 mark. You've got a really, really nice interior. You've got the roof. You've got, now this is really important. What you get in the BYD that you don't get in the MG, you get over-the-air updates. So I've harped on about over-the-air updates pretty much in every single video that I make, because the Tesla's got it, BYD's got it, this one does not have it. The great thing about the BYD is that until a few weeks ago, it did not have wireless CarPlay. Now it does, thanks to the magic of over-the-air software updates. Will it ever come to the MG4? I don't know. All right, well, there you go. That swings it way in favour of the BYD. If you've got mid-40s to spend, don't buy an MG4 SN64, buy the BYD. It's got over-the-air updates. Or you put a little bit more away, maybe you can get into a new Model 3, the Highlander facelift edition. Anyway, I'm sure some people will agree with me. Some people won't agree with me. I love that. Either way, leave me a comment below. Click that little like button down there. Hit the subscribe button on the other side. Plenty more EV content to come. I'd like to hear your views on which one you think is better for the price. Is it the Atto 3 or is it the MG4? Or should you buy, like, I don't know, a couple of STIs or something? No, don't do that. Leave the petrol cars alone, okay? Only idiots like me have too many cars. Anyway, Tim from Bozzy Garage. It's been a pleasure. Like, comment, subscribe. See you in the next video.